Good morning. Thanks for tuning in. You're watching the F&O Show on BloombergQuint Live, India's first digital live streaming business news service. I'm Navneet Saluja D'Souza.
Good morning, Navneet. I'm Agam Vakil. Let's take a look at the headlines. Indian markets begin expiry week on a subdued note, and the Nifty trades around 12,250. Open interest is rising in stocks like Manappuram Finance and Voltas. Voltas is seeing fresh short positions. Reliance Industries is the top loser on the Nifty today. It is contributing to over 25 points to the Nifty's downside. And Future Retail trades with gains after promoter released 13.7% of the pledged shares worth over 1 crore rupees as per current market price.
All right, those are your top headlines at this hour. Let's quickly tell you what's happening with the markets. As Agam already highlighted, we're off to a subdued start. This is the monthly expiry week, so let's see if we are in for any sort of volatility or not. But right now, it's as flat as it can be. Nifty is trading at levels of 12,273. Remember, we couldn't touch the mark of 12,300, so that will be the first resistance, first hurdle for the market to cross. But we're still perched at record high levels. Not too much happening with regard to Sensex right now, but Bank Nifty has recovered at least from the opening lows, sitting with gains of about 50 points. Take a look at the broader markets too, mid-cap, small-cap indices and the market breadth. Small-cap is down about 5 points right now. Mid-cap index sitting with gains of 0.25%, and the market breadth gives you a better picture. So not bad, at least in terms of market breadth, though the gap has been bridging from the opening levels, but still, market breadth is still in favor of the advances when you look at the entire listed universe on National Stock Exchange. But pull up the futures. Let's check how the rollovers are panning out. Despite of market scaling to record high levels last week, remember there were no major build-up coming, at least for the Nifty futures beat across the series as well. So as of now, 23%, they will start picking up tomorrow or day after. In terms of January futures, open interest is up about 6%. For Bank Nifty, let's check how the rollover stacked up, 26% as of now. And we are seeing some build-up coming in for both December as well as the January futures. But having said that, volatility has been cooling off, and that's pretty much a positive sign, at least for the bulls. And look at that, 12.1, we're down about 2% when it comes to India Volatility Index. What are the levels you should watch out in this important monthly expiry week? In terms of maximum open interest on the call side, it is at the 12,300, which is a resistance, but there is more open interest on the 12,200 put strike, giving you an indication that will be the first support to be watched out in today's trading session. And so far, we are seeing 12,300 call adding about close to 9 lakh shares. So there is more writing actually coming on that side. But remember, on Friday, even the put writers were active around the 12,300 mark, and 12,250, 12,200 put strike have seen addition of between 3 to 7 lakh shares respectively. So let's see, Agam, whether we hit the 10,200 mark first or the 10,300 mark on the upside.
Fair enough. Okay, well, let's talk about stocks then. Let's see all the stocks which are buzzing today, seeing an increase in open interest, where we are spotting a lot of activity there. So we do have Manappuram Finance right at the top. We don't really have too much going in for any of these stocks which are seeing a substantial increase in open interest with respect to change in spot. As you can see, none of these stocks on your list are seeing quite a bit of movement on either side towards the gaining or the losing side with respect to its spot price. However, there has been an anywhere between 11 to as much as 17.5% increase in open interest for the likes of Manappuram Finance, ICICI Bank, Voltas, Jubilant Foodworks, and Havells. So we'll watch out for some of these names as we move into trade today. But I reckon unwinding will have begun to come through for a lot of these companies. And, well, Tata Elxsi and Tata Global Beverages is, right there on the list, along with Vodafone Idea, Dish TV, and JSPL. But Navneet, I'm going to continue. I suppose we are going to continue to talk about, Tata Elxsi and Tata Global Beverages, considering they are looking so interesting and have been on the move of late.
That's right, Agam. In fact, on the show today with our technical experts, we will be discussing these stocks. And of course, Tata Global Beverages, which is trading very close to its all-time high levels. And also remember, today's move comes in after the development with regard to Sunil D'Souza's appointment as MD and CEO of the company from April 4th, 2020. The other one, of course, Reliance Industries, which is dragging the index lower. Let's see whether after the latest developments, Saudi Aramco deal happens or not. But Titan is the other one which gets included in Sensex with effect from today, and that's the reason you're seeing that gain coming by. And the stock's also trading above its 50 DMA.
Okay, we get in our experts for today, but before that, here's a reminder. If you have any queries regarding futures and options markets, you can call us on 02245404141, or of course, write to us on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. Don't forget to add the AskBQ hashtag. Let's get in our experts for today. Then we have Brijesh Bhatia of Dealmoney Securities and Nirav Chheda of Nirmal joining us on the show. Good morning to both of you, and thanks for taking the time out. Good morning, Niraj. I start with you. Pardon me, Nirav. I get confused all the time on this one. Nirav, yes. Why don't you tell us about where you are seeing indices go forward from here on, especially given the fact that we are not expecting too much participation with respect to markets. What's your strategy going forward?
Yeah. See, from the last few days, in fact, from start of November itself, it was quite evident that this rally was coming. The open interest was very, very low on the index, and finally we've had a breakout above, and we are at the all-time highs. I believe this rally should continue. The mood is positive. The VIX has fallen to 12 levels as well. So that is another very important thing. What happens is when the VIX falls to 10 or 14 levels, in between that, that is when, you can expect a linear rally which can probably move, the index can move another 5-10% from there on. However, I'm not saying that it will move for, make a move for that 5-10%. I believe Nifty should go toward the 12,500 odd levels. Looking at the open interest on the call sides as well, the open interest is quite less. That means, the call writers are not very confident at this point of time that, there will be resistance even at 12,500 odd levels. Only about 3 lakh shares across all the weekly expiries put together. So definitely, I believe, Nifty is going to be moving higher. Having said that, it is expiry time. This Thursday is an expiry, with Wednesday being a holiday. So you can expect, a bit of volatile move in 1 or 2 days, probably today or tomorrow, where maybe Nifty can fall another 40-50 points from here. That is when, I believe one should be buying. So if Nifty comes down below the 12,200 odd levels, or to 12,200 odd levels, one should be buying Nifty. A very good support lies now at 12,180. The PCR has shot up to 1.73, so that tells us, that Nifty will, take support at lower levels. It can remain at elevated levels now till the expiry. So my stop loss would be 12,180. I expect Nifty to touch 12,500 odd levels. If not by this Thursday, then probably, the first week of the, the first few days of the next week.
Nirav, you're expecting 12,500 by Thursday, by the expiry time?
Yes, I believe 12,450, 500 should be touched by Thursday. I'm very optimistic on that, but if it does not touch, I believe one should be rolling over positions to the next expiry future and hold on for those targets.
Okay, so watch out for those levels. Nirav is advising to buy the December futures at lower levels, and he expects the index to touch 12,500 either by Thursday and, of course, or in the first week of the new series. Hi, Brijesh. Good morning to you. Are you of the same viewpoint? Would you be buying at these on dips? Would you still remain net long?
Morning. If you look at the trend of the Nifty, yes, it still remains the bullish. But if I just look at the December series, I think some point of time profit booking can be expected, because we are witnessing some laggard moves from the large caps. So we have seen HSA Bank hovering around 530, 540, 545 range for quite some time. Reliance, even after moving above 1615, back to around 1560, 1570. So I think, yes, HDFC's bank is not taking a lead now. So I think probably we might see a dip towards 12,200, 12,220. That at that point of time, I would take a long bet, keeping a strict stop loss of 12,130, and look for around 12,340, 350 by the end December series, or probably if I look at the Jan. Yes, we are expecting 12,440, 12,500 as Nirav has been suggested.
Okay, Brijesh, I just have a follow-up question for you. Let's assume that a lot of traders out there are expecting an increase in volatility as we move into the budget month. Currently, the India VIX is at 12, and this is at considerably low levels. Let's just assume that on one hand, you are expecting a substantial increase in the VIX, considering the budget is expected to be, well, let's just say important in terms of trading reasons. But that said, if you go ahead and actually go and long a straddle or a strangle, there is also the possibility of you losing out with respect to time value if we don't see as much of a movement in the first couple of weeks. My question then is, how do you deal with, well, something like that, especially when you want to play a possible expansion in option premiums on both ends?
Again, if you look at the historical move last, if you look at 3-4 years, generally December weeks are at the lower level, and even if you look at the weeks till mid of Jan, they tend to remain at the lower level. So I think best if you want to play a straddle or strangle longs, considering the VIX momentum, then I would say by mid of January could be a better time to take a long, or maybe around 10th or 12th of January to take a straddle long if you want to play for really a budget. Because generally till from mid of December to mid of January, generally VIX are at the lower level. If you look at the historically last 4-5 years of data, generally Christmas is there, even US markets are not there, European markets are very sluggish. Generally, even if you look at the CBOE VIX also, they tends to remain at the lower during this time. So I think if you want to really play straddle and strangle, I would wait for around 10th or 12th of January and then take a bet on the long side of straddle. And that point of time, I would look for around, in case market is trading at around 12,200 or maybe 12,100, I would take a straddle at that point of time.
Okay, so that's the view coming in on the indices, but let's also get stock specific and get you some stock futures idea for the day. Nirav, coming to you in terms of individual stock futures, what are you betting on?
Yeah, see, two breakout stocks. The first one is a buy call on Adani Enterprise. After a breakout of 175 levels, it saw linear move up to about 210 odd levels, which is where some consolidation came in. But there was incremental increase in open interest on the long side all the time. This flag breakout came out in the last week, and I believe this momentum is likely to stay for Adani Enterprise. It is likely to move up further up to 230, 235 odd levels. So one can go ahead and buy the stock with a stop loss of 213 on the futures and a possible target of about 232. The second stock is a buy call on DLF. DLF, hasn't really, consolidated as much. It saw 3-week consolidation, but then again, a breakout came in and, the momentum as well. I think this stock is likely to move up towards the 250 odd levels. So one can look to buy this stock as well with a stop loss of around 228. For this expiry, the target would be around 240.
Okay, and Brijesh, what about you? What stocks looking interesting to you today?
The first stock is, I would look at the Berger paints for a couple of reasons. First, if I just look at the chart structure, it has broken off of its bullish pennant breakout on weekly charts. Second, it was quite strongly consolidating after a rally to around 510, 515 previously, and then consolidating for around 7-8 weeks. Second is, if I look at the derivative structure, we have seen huge long build-up coming in futures as well. I think around 10-11% of futures OI has been increased. And if I look at the derivative structure, 510 call was consistently written for quite some time. Now we have seen huge unwinding coming in. 510 call, I guess around tune of around 110,000 contracts were unwinded in today's session. Though the OI has been rising around 520 call, but I think yes, that would also see a good upside momentum, and short cover rally might be expected. Second, if I just look at the future OI for last 2 months, future OI is nearly at the highest of around 2 months highest future OI volume. So I think with the breakout, future OI rising, stock is in purely momentum, and I am expecting target of around 555 on the upside with a stop loss of 503, which was yesterday's low, or Friday's low. Second bet is on Zeal. I am purely taking a momentum because the stock is slightly volatile, and if I look at the 290 call, which is currently trading at around 7. I would go long. If we look at the future OI, we have seen future OI also rising on Zeal. And even if you look at the derivative structure, it's clearly indicated that the move towards 300 can be on cards. So 290 call is quoting at around 7 rupees. One can buy to between 6 and 7, keeping a stop loss of around 4. And I'm expecting target toward momentum in the stock toward 300. So options might be around 12, 12 and a half on the upside.
Okay, so those are some of your top calls coming from both our technical experts. Also the derivatives experts as well. But let's start discussing stocks which are moving around today and are in focus. One of them being Tata Global Beverages, a counter which has been trading around its life highs, and of course it's been trading above all its key moving averages as well. The reason for today's move, as you know it, is the appointment of Sunil D'Souza as MD and CEO with effect from April 4th from the period 2020 to 2025. And also remember, the moves that you're seeing on Tata Global Beverages, every time the stock moves, you will also see movement coming in Tata Chemicals, and that's because of the restructuring which is taking place, where the consumer business of Tata Chemical, which will be merged with Tata Global, and all these transactions will be completed, I guess, next year, somewhere in the month of June or July. And that's the reason, by the way, that put up Tata Chemical as well. That stock's also sitting with gains of nearly almost 3%. Nirav, if I could come to you, would you trade these stocks looking at the move today, be it Tata Chemicals or Tata Global Beverages?
Yeah, definitely. See, Tata Global for me is in a very bullish trend. It is making a higher top, higher bottom formation. And one very peculiar thing in Tata Global is, you take a 2-3 week structure, in the 2-3 week structure, it is only up about 2%, but that is very consistent across the last, 20, 30 odd weeks. And it is continuing to rise, in a linear pattern. So I believe Tata Global for me is going to go up towards the 330 odd levels. Its all-time highs are 330. That is where it had witnessed certain amount of resistance, and that is where a little bit of supply pressure will come in. But it should break that very soon and go up towards the 365, 370 odd levels. As of now, the target would be 330. It is making an inside candle as well. So on the weekly, you can keep a stop loss of around 312 and go long. For Tata Chemicals, it is in a consolidation phase, making a flag kind of a formation. The flag breakout is around the 670 odd levels. Now, 670 is a very important resistance for this stock. If it is broken above on a closing basis, only then I'd be buying this stock. Once the breakout is got, the stock can go up towards the 710, 720 odd levels, which is where the next resistance is placed. You can keep a stop loss of around 660, once 670 is broken, and go long.
Okay, well, let's move on and talk about Titan then. It's a new entrant in the Sensex, we all know. It's also trading about its 50 daily moving average after seeing some amount of weakness a few weeks ago, then consolidating around a certain level over the past 1 or 2 odd weeks. And now the question really is that can we expect the Titan company to break out above its 50 daily moving average and eventually see some more gains now that it has seen consolidation through the month of November and a majority of December. Brijesh, do you think that from here on we could see Titan move higher, or would you want to wait a little while longer to see some sort of confirmation on Titan company at this point in time?
Agam, if I just look at the chart structure since November, where it has taken a hit from around, I guess, 1270 back to around below 1200 levels. And that cap is resisting for quite some time. We have seen some short coverings coming up when stock has moved about 1200, 1180 levels. And for quite a couple of days, we have seen good momentum. I think this momentum can rally towards 1260, 1270, where one can take a long bet. And even we have suggested a momentum play to our clients going futures long at around 1210, keeping a strict stop loss of around 1190 and 1260, 1265 is the target we are expecting on Titan on the higher side.
Okay, so Tata Group companies are in focus today, but moving on from that to Reliance Industries, a biggie which has contributed to the gains that we've seen on Nifty, at least for this calendar year. So today, because of the developments with regard to the case which is there, the stock has reacted negatively. In fact, it's now down 2 to 2.5%. It is dragging, by the way, the index lower, though the index could be flat, but this is a top drag on Nifty today. And we are seeing some positions also being added in terms of future side. Nirav, with the cuts that we've seen of 2 to 2.5% today, do you use this as an opportunity to buy at lower levels, or on the charts, is there any breakout that suggests that the stock is headed lower?
See, the long-term chart continues to remain positive for Reliance. That is a given. Yes, whenever a stock witnesses a linear trend like Reliance has, it has gone up from 1170 non-stop to about 1600. There are phases where, it will cool off, it will consolidate, and this is one of those phases where I believe a little bit of consolidation is very important. Some time consolidation is very important for the stock. So at this point of time, it is in a no trade zone where very likely, it can come down towards the 1530, 1520 odd levels. Again, consolidate on the higher side in between 1520 and about 1570, 1580. But, once this breakout comes again, after a few days or weeks, you can see Reliance to move up again. It can move up towards the 1800 odd levels. One very important thing in Reliance is the open interest. If you see the open interest, there are no signs of any stopping, no signs of distribution. There are incremental flows which are coming in, which are very positive, and structurally Reliance is in a very positive trend. So as per that retracement as well, it should first reach around 1850, 1900 levels before a major correction can set in into this stock.
Okay, well, that's your view on Reliance Industries currently under a tad bit of pressure, and also possibly one of the major reasons as to why the index is not necessarily in the green right now, just trading flattish with marginal losses. But let's talk about a handful of queries out there, and I'm going to take one up on ICICI Bank first. We have Purushottam who is long the ICICI 445 call. He's not making any profit or loss at this point in time, and that, well, bank is currently at least that call is currently at around 5. But we just have today's session and tomorrow's session, and of course Thursday being the expiry. Brijesh, what's your view on ICICI Bank over the next 3 sessions, and do you think there could be any money which could be made in this specific 545 call?
I think it should exit from the trend, because we are consistently witnessing some selling pressure coming at around 546, 550. In case you want to create, if you manage to trail a stop loss with a 3.9, then you can keep a stop loss of 3.9 and hold on. In case it comes to around 7.5, you can exit it out. But in case if it's a low risk trader, then he should exit at current point of time. And if it's a high risk trader, he can maintain a stop loss of 3.9 and look for 7.2, 7.4 as an exit level.
Okay, that's ICICI Bank for you. And the other query is also on a banking counter, and this one's from Lalit Akhare, who wants a view on selling the 680 put strike of Kotak. So maybe he's betting that the expiry on this Thursday on Kotak Mahindra Bank will happen above that mark. And of course, the stock's right now trading around the levels of 1700. Nirav, is it a good strategy to ride the 1680 put?
Not really, actually. 1680 put is very near at this point of time, and looking at the structure of Kotak, it has witnessed a negative structure on Friday. Little bit of selling pressure is likely to set in again. It has to go down to retest its 50-day moving average, which is now placed around the 1650 odd levels. Whether that happens before expiry or after expiry is a little difficult to understand, but it is not a very good strategy to ride the 1680 put strike at this point of time. The better strategy would be, to actually sell the future at current levels and then, ride the 1680 put strike. I believe it is going to remain in the range of about 1705 on the upside and about 1670 or 1650 on the downside, with a little bit of negative bias.
Okay, from there on, we move on to a question from Ankur. Ankur has two queries, GAIL and Reliance Industries. Because we've already addressed Reliance, I'm going to take up his GAIL query. We have Ankur, who's bought the GAIL January futures at 119, wants to know what can be done. The spot price is currently at 120 odd, 120, and Yep, that's how things are at this point in time. So not at a profit or a loss, Brijesh. So what's your view on GAIL and what is your advice to Ankur?
I think I would suggest to book profits because if you look at the stock has given a breakdown at around 122 odd levels. The stock has managed to retest those levels in the last week session when it made a high of around 122. Now back to around 115 odd levels. Though it's in the 120 is in the profit, I would suggest to book profits. Don't think I expect the prices to move above 125, and I'm expecting stock to drag down towards 110, 104 levels.
Okay, so that's a GAIL for you. Let's just squeeze in one last query, and that's on Indices Bank. So one of our viewer wants to know what sort of levels to monitor on this stock. Indices Bank, let's just pull up the stock and also check what's that doing so far in today's trading session. The stock is seeing some bit of gains. It's up about 0.5%, and there's a build-up which is coming in on both December as well as January futures. Nirav, we don't know if our viewer has taken a position, but he just wants to know what are the key levels to watch out on Indices Bank.
Yeah. See, Indices Bank has made a very good structure ever since it touched its low of around 1200 odd levels. Now, from there, week on week, there are 2 weeks where it is up and 1 week where it is down. It is making a structure where it can probably reach the 1650, 1700 odd levels, but it will take time to reach. After every 2 weeks, there is a selling week which retests the lows of the previous week. Now, the levels for Indices Bank are a little difficult to say because, on a weekly basis, it touches both the lows and the highs. So my only advice would be, once it comes to 1400 odd levels, go ahead and buy. This is not a selling stock at this point of time. You should be buying this stock because it is headed upwards, but it will test the patience of a buyer. And that is why buying on dips is the best strategy in this particular stock. The stop loss should remain around the 1380 odd levels and remain long for about 2 to 3 weeks, maybe more until it reaches the 1600, 1650 levels.
Okay, that's Indices Bank for you, just around trading at its 200-day moving average. That's the simple 200 DMA, and of course, it's underperformed vis-a-vis the other private banks this year. Before we wrap, I just want to pull up UPL. It's up for the second straight day. On Friday, also, we had seen strong gains for the stock, and today it's one of the top gainers among the Nifty constituents, and it's also approaching very, very close to its 200-day moving average. Brijesh, would you take a bet on the upside on UPL at current levels of 590?
Yeah, definitely. I would take a long for target of around 600 because if you look at the momentum when it is fought from around 620 to 23 back to around 550, we have seen the V-shaped recovery coming in. Then consolidation was there, and in the V-shaped recovery when that rallied from around 550 to 500, we have seen a huge short covering coming in future as well. Though the stock was consolidating, we haven't seen any addition. But if you look at the Friday session and today's session, we have again seeing some long build-ups coming on the UPL. I would definitely take a long for around 616, 620 on the upside.
Okay, fair enough. That's your view on UPL, looking strong as far as our experts are concerned. We've run out of time on the show, so I am going to take a moment to thank both our experts, Nirav and Brijesh, for joining us and taking us through their views on the markets and, of course, solving a whole host of our viewer queries. Don't forget, for more updates on the futures and options pages, don't forget to log on to our website, BloombergQuint.com.
And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of the F&O Show. Thanks a lot for watching. It's goodbye from the entire team.